Do your mornings feel like chaos with the kids yelling, inbox pinging, and your breakfast a sad crust of gut-irritating toast? If that's you and you want more energy, better digestion, and actually lose weight by eating a meal that you might even dream about, all from a 5-minute breakfast that's also gluten-free and dairy-free, well, you're in the right place. What you eat first thing in the morning sets the tone for your whole day. It fuels your good gut bugs, calms inflammation, and it even impacts your mood and metabolism. Hi, I'm Leilani, a chef, a clinical nutritionist, obsessed with helping busy people like you turn everyday food into gut-boosting and energy-fueling magic. And today I'm showing you one of my go-to Mexican-inspired microbiome breakfasts loaded with protein, fiber, flavor, and sneaky fermented goodness. And I'll show you the secret to creamy eggs without adding cream. Now stick around to the end where I show you how to eat corn without wrecking your gut. It's hands down the most important part of making this breakfast actually gut-friendly and not a bloating disaster. Good gut health is all about smart swaps. I release cooking classes every week and I'm all about the fast, gut-healthy breakfast right now. So hit that subscribe bell so you get the notifications. All right, let's get cooking. Now have a look, we've got some of the best science-backed ingredients. I'll talk you through it, then I'll take you to the stove and we'll get cooking. You don't have to use all of these. There's really only maybe 1 or 2 ingredients to make this really gut friendly, and then you can take or swap as much as you want, and I'll talk about that as we're going along. So the first thing is, and if you've watched my channel before, you know I'm obsessed with beans, right? Ideally you want to make your own. I'll show you here because they're like the Beyonce of breakfast. They feed fecalibranitsi, which is like a gut anti-inflammatory VIP that actually helps lower inflammation, that actually helps leaky gut. So if you've got that going on, and I talk about that in a separate talk, then beans are going to be your best friends. Plus, they're also fantastic if you want to lose weight. And let's be honest, after about 35, who doesn't want to do that? So beans are your best friends. I really, really like butter beans. They don't have butter, but they're creamy and they're very mild. So even a kid is going to like this. Now, I bought this in glass, and I talk about that whenever you can swap over to glass, you want to do that because of the toxins in the tin and in plastic and anything else. So if you can get any product in glass, it's going to be better for your endocrine system, which is your hormones. I won't go into that in this talk. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to take out the liquid that is inside of it. A lot of the time that's actually got a preservative called sodium benzoate, and that it's a preservative, so it's going to kill your good gut bugs, but it's also going to enhance ADHD if you've got any of that going on in your family. So get rid of that liquid that sits in the beans. And if you can make your own and boil them and cook them in bone broth, that's the optimal. I used to do that. I don't have time to do that anymore. I have no judgment on you, but it's just going to be better for your health if you can cook your own. But next best thing, the canned stuff or the jarred stuff, but of course you want it to be cooked because this is going to be like a 5 to 6 minute recipe if you're making it at home without talking. So I'm going to wash that. If you haven't tried butter beans, definitely give them a go. So you can see what they look like here. They're really soft, especially when they're from the can. and they don't need any cooking. We're just going to heat them today. And I'll take you over to the stove in a sec. But what I'm going to do, it's heating right now. And just in the meantime, I've got an olive oil. I love olive oil. I only use extra virgin olive oil, or I have different cooking oils. And I could do a talk in that. Let me know in the comments if you want me to go into oils, because there is a big difference between the toxic oils and then the clean oils. So I'm going to put a little bit of this. And if you do have butter and dairy, I do suggest going that way because it is more delicious with eggs, but I'm making this dairy free and this is really, really nice as well. So I'm just going to put a little bit in my pan and it'll just heat up while I'm talking with you. And then I'm going to move on to another ingredient. I'm going to take that off because I can see once it starts smoking, not a good thing. That's what you want to avoid. I had that on high already. So I'll take it off the heat. I'll talk you through the next ingredient, which spices. Now you can use whatever spice you want, but this collection is smoked paprika, turmeric, and cumin. And the reason I've got these is particularly turmeric, it actually shuts off something called NF-κB, and it's an inflammatory switch. So when that's off, you've got anti-inflammatory happening in the body, which that's what we want, right? Inflammation causes a lot of issues. Turmeric is your friend. It's not the best tasting thing in the world, so you want a little sprinkle, and I've got cumin because that's nice, smoked paprika. And these actually help feed up different bacteria, beneficial bacteria families in your gut. So I'm going to actually toast them first. If you have whole spices and you want to ground them, fantastic. It does taste better, but we're trying to do this quick. So essentially all I've got this, and I'm going to take you over here in a sec. I'm just going to put it in there. And if you were here with me in the kitchen, look at that. Can you hear it? Can you hear that goodness? What that's doing is actually creating flavor. And it's intensifying it, concentrating it. And so this is the next best thing, is toasting. You can do it with or without oil, your spices, so it increases the flavor. And this is a Mexican dish, so we want some sort of flavor bomb happening. Now, while that's kind of cooking away, and before I put the beans on, I will talk to you about the next ingredient, which is part of it. This is a burrito. It's a Mexican bean egg burrito with some goodness, so it's going to have eggs. When it comes to eggs, you want to go pasture fed, not necessarily organic. That's another thing for another time, but pasture fed. And there's a big difference. You probably can't see it, but anyway, the normal eggs, pasture fed has 7 times the amount of beta carotene in it, which is good for your skin. It has 5 times more vitamin D, which is good for immune system. It has twice the amount of omega-3, good for your brain. And it has 70% more vitamin B12, which is also good for like neurological function. And so that's comparing pasture-raised to caged eggs. So yeah, it is definitely worth the extra money. Now I'm going to put the beans in, and I might actually, yeah, I'll put the beans in for now. Whoa. So I'll put them in here. You can see it. I'll bring you over to the stove soon, but I'm just showing you, just getting that nice and coated. Now, normally that would take about 30 seconds. I would put the oil, spices, then the beans, and then I would work on my eggs. So eggs are a really good source of choline. Choline is good if you feel like you get a bit of brain fog. That's going to help with that. Also, it's a good protein, but you want to get a clean egg. Like I said, if you got your own chickens, that's fantastic. Now with scrambled eggs, I usually put about 2 to 3 eggs per person because it just shrivels to almost nothing. And try to get yourself a bowl, right, just as a bin, because it's going to help with rubbish. You don't have to go back and forth to the bin or dump things everywhere. So I always have a kitchen bin, And on another note, I actually have a talk called Kitchen Essentials, and it talks about the best setup for your kitchen. I'll put it here so you can go check it out. It's just, I think it's 8 minutes long. So I recommend that. And we're going to move on to scrambled eggs, right? So this is very quick. I'm not putting any dairy. If you want to add cheese or milk or other dairy, I have a talk on the best fermented dairies to use. I'm keeping this dairy free, but I'll put that card there so you can click it and watch it later because it's very, very good. In the meantime, I'm going to put a splash of alternative milk. Okay, I don't necessarily recommend this alternative milk, but I had it. Can't always be perfect. I've got a whole thing on alternative milks as well. Salt. Now get yourself a really good sea salt. This one's a herba mare. It's just sea salt and flavorings, but definitely don't use that table salt. It's got anti-caking agent in it. The whole point of good gut health is reducing your chemical exposure, swapping things that you would normally want and have to the better version, right? Because the body can handle a little bit of buffer before it goes crazy. Now, another thing I'm going to add to this, nutritional yeast. If you've watched my channel, I use this a lot. It is basically cheese, Parmesan cheese, but it's also kind of a supplement. So you can see here it has nutritional yeast. It's packed with B vitamins, and it basically works with the Krebs cycle, which is an energy cycle. It's like a hamster wheel. It just goes and goes and goes. But if you don't have enough B vitamins in your diet, then it slows down, and so does your metabolism and definitely your energy. Now I put quite a lot, probably you can see there, I put about maybe 2 tablespoons in. I love this stuff. You don't have to go that crazy. All right, so moving on. The secret to good eggs and keeping them creamy, you actually want to add a touch of water. So it's only about a spoon, okay, or a splash. That's one of the secrets. The other secret, and I'll tell you actually when we go over to the stove, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some spinach. You don't have to. It's obviously a good gut healthy ingredient and nutritional ingredient as long as you have the bacteria that break down oxalates. Otherwise you can struggle with spinach, which is why you want to feed all of the different families in your gut because they all play a role. And so like for beans, for example, they feed up Akkermansia, which is a bacteria that I talk about quite a bit, and it helps with metabolism and weight loss. Another thing, if you can't tolerate beans, like you have a little bit, you're bloated, like you've got a food baby, then it's kind of a sign that you're not eating enough fiber and that your gut might have some issues. So you might have a gut dysbiosis. Now, I talk all about that in my step-by-step gut health course. I'll put the links below. I have a section just on how to eat beans to reduce bloating, because essentially what you want to do is start small and have a little bit of bean the next day. So it could be a spoon of hummus and then 2 spoons of hummus and then a little bit more, or a bowl, like a small bowl, and you work your way up to build up the bacteria that eat that food. So then they can tell you, hey, I really like that. Let's get more beans or sour foods. That's how you move away from cravings as well. So we've got that. What else am I going to put in this? I'm going to keep it really simple. You can add mushrooms to this. You could add tomatoes or capsicum. I've got that coming up. For anything you want for flavoring. So even like ham, even though it's not great for you, bacon, you can still put that stuff in. You know, you don't have to be a nun about this. It's also about enjoying the process and enjoying the food itself. So I'm just giving you the cleanest version. So I'm going to mix that up. It's nice and yellow. Those egg yolks were yellow, the turmeric, the nutritional yeast, loads of yellow. Now I'm going to take you over to the stove so you can see how to make really creamy eggs. Okay, welcome back. So basically I've got my olive oil, I've got all dairy, I've got the beans, and they've just nicely heated through. This is like a 30-second thing, right? Now, what you want for creamy eggs, you want that pan hot. Put this in. And then you're going to turn it down. So mine's on it was on kind of medium high. Now it's on medium low. It does take longer. Eggs are very sensitive. So you got to treat them like your girlfriend, just nice and gentle, not being aggressive. So this is scrambled, so you can see that it's cooking on the bottom. I'm just going to leave it right now. I want that bottom to cook through first. And while that's going on, I'm going to tell you about quickly the pan that I'm using. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on this, because if you're using Teflon, you're adding toxic exposure to your body, which is everywhere right now, so you really want to reduce that. This pan that I've got going on is a ceramic. It's enameled ceramic, so it's a non-stick version. It is more expensive. It does last a lot longer, but it is much better for your health in general, particularly if you're cooking on high heat. So definitely go out and spend the money on that one. And I want to know in the comments, I was going to ask before, what is the dairy that you feel like you can't live without? Because for me, it's butter. I love butter. I go and get cultured butter on bread. I love it. It's my favorite thing. So let me know in the comments. All right, back here. So what you're going to do is you're going to slowly mix it around. And then let it sit there again. Now, if you are going to do it like this, then it probably will take a couple more minutes, more than 5. If you are like my partner, he makes scrambled eggs in about 3 minutes on high heat. So it sort of depends how much time you've got going. But I just want to show you how to make eggs creamy without using cream. So you don't want it to burn. That's the whole thing. And then the other important thing, so this is 30 seconds away from being ready, even though it doesn't look like it. Now it's almost cooked through. I'm turning the heat off. That's how to get it nice and creamy. Turn the heat off so that it does not overcook. Overcooking eggs is rubbery eggs. That's it, it's done. So I'm going to put that to the side. We're going to go back over to the other part of the kitchen. All right, so we're back. Now I've done the eggs. I'm going to put them on the tortilla. This is a very, very, very important part. Now, if you want this to be gut healthy and you want it to be also gluten-free, because you could use a sourdough bread, and I do talk about best breads for gut health. I'll put the link there if you want. But there is something essential about corn so that it doesn't cause B3 niacin deficiency, which can cause dementia and diarrhea and skin dermatitis. And I'll touch on that really soon. But for now, we're going to use these. These are tortillas. You can put them on the griddle if you want, or put them on a pan or in the oven just to warm them up. I won't do that right now because I'm not going to eat this right after, but if I was you, I would do it. Even the microwave. I just don't use the microwave very often. So, all right, so I've got my tortillas. I've got a lot of scrambled eggs here. So I'm only gonna, this is enough for probably depends on who you've got eating. 3 people. So I'll put a little bit of that. These are quite small. You can get bigger ones. Cut this part out. Okay, I've packed that. I'm going to try it now. Delicious. A little bit smoky, a little bit creamy. Really, really, really good. So that's the base. Now I'm going to add a few more things just to make it better and more gut friendly. So I'll talk you through. spring onions. Now, spring onions, and I cut them nice and fine, they have something called fructans in it, which is a prebiotic food, and it actually helps reduce gas when you're like farting. So I do add that to things. Onions are very gut friendly, and you wouldn't think so because they're just so ordinary, but I put them in everything, really. So spring onions, that's gonna go on. Avocado. This is like good mood food. And it's high in fiber. It's a good fat, so it's going to help you absorb nutrients like A, D, E, and K, which is super essential. You want everything to work for you. I don't know, I'll put that one that way. I was going to just do one taco, so that's why I don't have that much. Next up, I'll put some capsicum. That's just a bit of crunch and a bit of red, but of course you don't have to add that. Like I said, you could add more spinach or mushrooms, or to be honest, like, you don't need that much vegetable. Even if you choose one vegetable or a bean, what you're looking for is fiber. So the beans have the fiber and the eggs have the protein, and then the avocado has the fat. So you want that mix of those three macronutrients, and then you want a fermented food. The reason you want a fermented food, if you haven't already watched my talk, is that it has its own digestive enzymes in it. So it actually takes the load off the gut by helping break down the fats, proteins, and carbs. And so you're gonna have more energy, right? Because your body is not trying to break down all that food, which is a super violent process, by the way, in the gut, which is why you feel a lot better when you fast. So you don't have to use tomatillo. I've got so many gut-friendly fermented foods. Check out that talk. But diversity is one of the keys to good gut health. And this is a salsa, it's like a salsa verde, and I want this Mexican inspired. So I went and got this. I got the version with the least amount of stuff. I'll show you the label, and it's actually got flavonoids in it that have anti-cancer properties. It's also sour, so it helps with the bile and digestive enzymes I spoke about. This has just got tomatillo, 77%, onion, jalapeno, garlic, salt, coriander, lime. So like, so clean, doesn't have all the preservatives. That's why you want to read the label. Now, tell me in the comments, has anyone tried tomatillo? Probably in Australia, nobody. Maybe in America, you have Latin influence and it's around. It's super delicious and it is not spicy. Well, this one isn't. You probably can get spicy. So it's just got a bit of, I'll show you the inside. Look at that, chunky. It's got a bit of sweetness and a bit of sour. Sour foods are excellent because it helps with those sugar cravings. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in. Now I'm making this really pretty. You can honestly throw this together in 5 minutes once you've done it a few times. I don't usually cut my avocado so beautifully, like I'll just throw it all in. This is for you guys. Now I'm gonna put a bit more in that because it's a fermented aspect and I want it to get all over. Next up, coriander. Now you don't have to add this. It's just Mexican, you know. I've got the leaves of it. It's pretty and it's powerful. And it's a very strong antimicrobial, so it helps with that good gut balance. But the other thing about coriander, if you like it, and some people don't, some people hate it, it tastes like soap to them, it's a genetic thing. But if you do like coriander and you can handle it, it actually can help reduce histamine overload. So if you, and I talk about this in my talk in more detail, but if you tend to get headaches or hives or like you feel a bit hungover after eating fermented foods or red wine, it can be an overproduction of histamine. And so this is going to help reduce that and those symptoms. So put that. Chili, you don't have to add this. I'm obsessed with chili, and this is a fermented chili. And so the more fermented foods, can you see it? It's like a bit darker than normal, and it's jalapeno as well. So as much fermented foods as you can, every single dish, you want at least one fermented food. It's just going to help with the gut microbiome, but it's also going to help break down those foods. So look at that. I'm trying to fit it all in. I'll just leave it, that'll do. And that's pretty much everything. Now I'll show you what that looks like. This is dairy-free, gluten-free, and then I'm going to talk to you about the corn because that's super duper important. So have a look at that. You've got my Mexican burritos. I would just wrap that up, or it's so small, they're more like tacos, but you get the point. Now, corn. This is absolutely essential. Just eating corn in little doses is going to be all right. But if you eat corn, I mean all the time, and you're having like grits and corn cob and cornbread and corn, right? You need to get nixtamalized corn. And this, you look at it in the label, right? So there's two things you can look for. And I'll tell you why it's important. But so you can see traditional tortilla on the back, it actually uses masa flour. If you can see this, masa, M-A-S-A. And then the reason that's important is because it's gone through this process of nixtamalization. It also shows in, I'll show you on this, it'll say certified organic nixtamalized white corn. You need to spend the money on a little bit better quality, or go to a Mexican place, they usually do it anyway. And the reason for that is it's really interesting. There's a story, I've talked about it a bit, so I won't go into all the details, but essentially if you don't do the traditional fermentation and soak that corn in an alkaline solution, it actually creates a very intense niacin deficiency, which then you'll get issues with your skin, you can start getting issues with your brain, dementia, and it can even cause death. So it's called pellagra, and it comes from corn that has not been fermented correctly. And it was a big thing in the 1800s after the Europeans took corn back from Mesoamerica without knowing how to actually ferment it. The corn we have today is even worse because it's genetically modified. It's sprayed with glyphosate. So with corn, go organic.